and welcome to another exciting episode of the Why I Love Disney podcast. It is March. We are almost to spring, and we are thrilled to be with you right now here with David and JD. How you guys doing?
What
Great,
up?
Dustin. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, man. The weather's getting better. It's exciting. Soccer season's here. Lots of things happening. It's March Madness week. We're moving into conference tournaments. I don't know if you guys are listening, are college basketball fans, but we all are. It's been an incredible weekend already because you may not know, but I know you guys are huge Tar Heel fans.
Come on.
This is a big weekend for you guys.
It was pretty amazing.
Let the listeners know. Come on. Let them know. Come on. This is
okay. Yeah, we'll give them the rundown. So if anybody knows the whole Tar Heel UNC North Carolina versus Duke rivalry, it's one of the biggest, most well-known, hated rivalry between two colleges. So this week we played each other, and it was Duke's legendary head coach's Coach K, his last home game. And we faced off, and we beat them for the last time, and it was a big game for us.
On their home court.
Home court. So we're happy Tar Heels. We've been smiling a little harder this week. It's been great.
So I'm a Kentucky fan, so I hate Duke by my nature too. So common enemies make great friends. And, dude, I was texting you guys during the game. Like, I don't know if I've ever been this happy about a game. I actually told somebody, I think I need to see a therapist because I think I was happier with Coach K losing that game than I've ever been for my own team winning. And that's a little troubling, but man, it was awesome. The awkward shots in the crowd, there were like 50-something former Duke players there, and they kept showing them in the crowd, and they're all like freaking out, and it just gets more awkward, and you can tell no one thought this was going to happen because this isn't like UNC doesn't have one of their best teams they've had in a while.
Yeah.
And Duke is ranked in the top 5, and as it kept going, it looked like this is going to happen. It was like, oh my goodness, this is meltdown city. And then I watched every second of their ceremony for him afterwards too. And there are tears, just pain. He yells at everybody like only he can do. It was amazing. If you're a Duke fan, hey, thank you for listening, but we are thriving on your pain and your tears. We're drinking your tears.
It was. I was talking to my dad a couple of nights ago, and he said the whole week before the game, they live in North Carolina. My parents live in North Carolina, and he said the whole week before the game, there was just so much media about it. So much media. My dad was like, "They're building this thing up so much. It's starting to feel like an upset." He said, he goes, I wouldn't be surprised. He said, they've made so much of a big deal about this. So for all those people that plan such a big event like that, man, I think I would have been planning a team that I knew for sure this is a win before we're going to have a big celebration. That was too close.
Or maybe just a tad of humility, just a little humility would have been in order, and they did not. They laid it on, and man, it was amazing. It was just an amazing. It might be the greatest regular season win from a team against a rival ever, maybe ever.
It's
you know
up
what
there.
I mean? Like I can't.
It's
think,
historic.
You know what I'm saying? Like. Yeah. How many? It's probably one of the best rivalries out there. There's the Kentucky Louisville, but I would say Duke Carolina is kind of bigger than that. And I can't think of many more like huge rivalry games. You know, you think in football, you got Ohio State and Michigan, you got Florida State, Alabama, Auburn. But even that, man, regular season win against a rival, you get the 40-year coach, maybe the greatest coach of all time, and get to send him and make him a sore loser in front of everybody, and everybody's crying. His grandkids are crying. It was like it couldn't be more perfect. Could not be more perfect. So we're kicking off the week where the great energy. We love Disney, and we love that Duke lost because
and today we're talking about upsets. We're
upsets. Well, it's March Madness. It leads a great segue into what we were going to do today. We have made some brackets, but before we get there, is there any Disney news, sound bites, anything, any media you've consumed this week that you guys would like to talk about? Anything you've seen to bring to the table?
Yeah, there's not been a ton. I've been kind of watching it, some just park news and things like that. It seems like the mainstream has just still been coverage on the Galactic Star Cruiser. It seems like now that it's going to the paid customer, some people are canceling. Some people are reevaluating if they want to go on their trip. But it's been fun to see people who are actually paying for the vacation and seeing their reviews has been very interesting.
I've been pleased with the reviews that I've seen. Even among some people that I thought might give it negative reviews, people are being pretty positive about it. It's just the price. It's like, will the price hold? Will they be able to keep finding people willing to pay that price, or will they have to bring the price down? Will they have to modify the experience based on, how long can it go? I thought about it a lot since we talked last week, and it looks really fun. Like, I think if I was with, you guys, John David, we would have a great time. My whole family, that would not be their thing. They would not want to run around and play an escape game for, 48 hours. So and maybe even if it's just because of Star Wars. So if it was a different IP, my whole family might do it. But I think it's the pacing of the event. It seems pretty busy and intense, and so you're going nonstop. And so for that, I'm not sure, unless it was just a couple of us going. Whether and the price.
Well, I'm rooting for a slowdown and a lower price point. I'm rooting for a lower price point.
I think that would be the thing. Would be watch and see if it holds out, and then see if it becomes more affordable. I don't know, but it got good reviews. I'm glad it's not a this is the worst thing they've ever done. I'm glad it's not getting those. So. No cringe, not much cringe. So you would say, both of you guys, on what you've seen, that the reviews have been net positive for the experience? From what I've seen. I mean, I think there's always a crowd that's going to find negative, but from people that I've seen that have gone, the reviews have been good. Again, it comes back, people go, it was really good. And even people have said there's so much to do that if you do it again, you're going to have a different experience, because you can't even see all the drama play out. Things happen in different places, so each time you go, you might see different things. But who's going to pay that price multiple times? But I do think there will be a crowd that loves it so much that they probably will. If they have the money, that there'll be some people that it'll be their favorite thing. Just like, hey, everything has somebody thinks it's the best. So there could still be some people that will.
Yeah, true.
This will be the greatest new thing. A lot of talk of people saying, like, this will change how theme parks are done. This will change how attractions are done. So we'll see how Universal responds if we get a Harry Potter version. And somebody said, I heard multiple people talking about, will there be a Marvel version? And some kind of Marvel universe hotel.
Which I think, that'd be really cool. And Harry Potter, that would be really cool. And Universal's done a great job with Harry Potter Land. But two things to consider with the Star Cruiser is, one, we've always talked about the only negative is that price point. What's going to happen after the hype has kind of spanned out and it's just normal people saving up for a vacation? How much are they enjoying it and saying it's worth it? And two, the people who are going right now are the biggest Star Wars fans that were like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the first one on this. So it will be interesting when you just have the father and son or father and kids or, the big Star Wars fans in the family. How do they enjoy it? Who that middle class that just has to save up for vacations? It will be interesting to see.
Great thoughts all the way around. I did see for me, I saw this article this week that I wanted to run by you guys. It was, I think it was posted by Walt Disney World News Today. And it talked about Disney CFO Christine McCarthy was at the Morgan Stanley's Technology and Media Conference and was talking about the parks and what they're doing there. And she was asked about park capacity. She said the parks are not yet back to their normal capacity. And she also said, I want to get your thoughts on this, that attendance levels will not be returning to what they were pre-pandemic. She says that they're managing things differently and they have no intentions for the attendance to be the same as what it was pre-pandemic. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. So she's saying that they're not going to accept as many people as they used to? Like they'll cut people off? Is that what that means?
I'm going to quote from the article. It says, when asked about park capacity, McCarthy said the parks are not yet back to their normal capacity. She said attendance levels will not be returning to what they were pre-pandemic. According to McCarthy, Disney is, quote, managing things differently now. With Disney's new reservation system, the company is able to track how many guests are going through the parks each day, which allows for better crowd management. McCarthy stated that Disney does, quote, not want to have the parks busting at the seams. When parks aren't overwhelmingly crowded, guests have a more enjoyable time and are more likely to spend more money. What do you think about that?
Well, okay, so I love the sound of that. That sounds wonderful, but that contradicts every experience I've had the past probably 3 times I've gone to the park. It has been hustling and bussing and trying to maneuver around people in stores. When me and Dad went, me and McKay went, and for the first time left the park because it was just so overwhelming for rides and restaurants and everything. So that sounds wonderful. I would actually probably prefer that they would cut off attendance so the day was more enjoyable. But I don't know how that's going to be truly implemented.
Let me ask you this. If it's true that there are fewer people in the park than there were before, and your experience is that it seems more crowded, what do you think? Let's assume that that's correct, that the numbers are lower, and you are experiencing that it's more crowded. What do you think that's attributed to?
I think they still haven't hired they have so much more hiring they could do. I don't know if it's because not a lot of people are wanting to work right now, or if they just don't want to pay workers, or how. I don't know that whole process. But when you look at shows and just the little things of having cast members walk around and would entertain little pockets of customers throughout the day, you see way less of it that you would see pre-pandemic. There's way less shows. Fantasmic, we've talked about Fantasmic a lot. That's still not back, and that would hold how many people at night? That would open the floodgates for people to ride so many rides. There are less show times, even though they've brought back a lot of shows. They're doing less of them. It's just all those little things that kind of add up, and it's putting a lot of emphasis on just riding rides, which is, again, it might be a strategic plan for Genie Plus. To implement that system. I'm not really sure, but definitely just when you go to the parks, it's really just, all right, I can watch a couple of shows maybe, but besides that, it's ride rides and eat some snacks instead of just, okay, I'm going to watch parades, which I do see they are bringing some parades back, which is good to see.
The thing about the reservation system, the way I understand it and have experienced it, is that if they know there's 50,000 people in the park have reservations that day, or 80,000 people in the park, they know how to staff the park for that size crowd. How many shows they need, what restaurants they need. Like the last time we were there, Friar's Nook wasn't open, and that kind of, there was a treat there it was a special 50th anniversary treat, but it was closed. I didn't expect it to be closed, but it was closed that day. Obviously, they didn't think they needed that. I don't know how, they can schedule things and close things as they need to. And I think some of that contributes to the lines. If certain things aren't open, they're going to be, for that size crowd, it's less open for the size crowd. So it always feels equally crowded with however many people are there.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? That was my experience.
Yeah.
I feel like, even if I come here at a time when it's not supposed to be as crowded, they've maneuvered the park to fit the crowd, and so, which is good for them because they're not wasting money. They don't want to show fireworks to a small crowd. They want to. That's a lot of money. They have to, So things like that, they want to make sure if they're doing a Mickey's Fun Fair show in front of the castle, that people are watching it, or it's not cost effective for them.
I guess my concern would be like JD said, it sounds good in theory. Fewer people in the park means a better experience, but it's really not a better experience if half the restaurants are closed, right? Because that disperses the people. It just kind of keeps everybody on top of each other, doing the same attractions and going to the same restaurants. Maybe we're still in the post-pandemic kind of the flushing out of what's going to happen. Maybe hiring is still an issue. There's all sorts of things, that could be in consideration here. But I hope, and we've seen, portion size smaller, more strategic, like you said, David, more strategic labor practices, which is all great for the bottom line, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the guest experience. And from what you guys are telling me from firsthand, JD having been there now, half a dozen times post-pandemic or more, I think they still have it sounds to me like they still have some work to do to translate that smaller park number into margins, into great guest experience. Because I think we'd all be willing to pay a tiny bit more for a park all to ourselves, right? Where it seemed like nobody was there. You'd feel like you got more value in that regard. But if it doesn't feel like that and you're paying more, then it can get a little annoying. You know what I'm saying?
Disney is all about about time management. When you think about what you're spending and how many hours you're in the park, if you start figuring out how many hours you actually spend in line, it could start feeling like, ooh, was this really worth it? Because I spent a lot of time. So that's what you don't want to feel like. You want to feel like that you got a lot of value and it wasn't all in lines.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But hey, I'll also say this is that we've, over the course, if you go back and watch the Imagineering story, I mean, over the course of history, different administrations have had different, focuses and the way they run things and how they do things. And, to say this is the way we do things now could change at any point that, leadership changes again, and it will change again at some point. They seem very cost conscientious of everything they do right now, and which is I understand that. The sad thing is we always seem to know it. It always seems to kind of you kind of know what's going on. I don't want to know that much information. I wish they wouldn't give away so much information without thinking about what they're doing.
Well, it's a publicly traded company, and I think that too is like they have to justify to shareholders what's happening and kind of explain themselves to keep their jobs. But I also wanted to bring up this other kind of like elephant in the room that is, we just got out of the pandemic, things were rocking and rolling, and now if you watch the stock market, man, it's like things are not going. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. Matter of fact, the sanctions with the situation in Ukraine, the sanctions that the United States government has placed on Russia and some of its allies, mainly Russia. Disney even has pulled the plug on content in Russia. And it's not so much the direct impact of these companies that are stepping out of Russia to satisfy the sanctions and our laws. But it's that the ramifications of sanctions have a global impact already. Gas is $4 a gallon where I live. Very likely will be setting records daily for the next few weeks, if not months. There's a world in which we are on the precipice of the air coming out of this recovery and going into a global worldwide recession. And when that happens, man, it's game on with these companies trying to figure out how to continue making money. It's not now about how to capture users that are stuck at home trying to stay well. Now it's just people's pocket don't have the money they used to have. Discretionary income goes down. And it's one thing in the United States, another thing from an international audience that comes and travels to Disney, right? So many people take, huge vacations and spend 2 weeks or so in Florida at the parks. And, with travel restrictions and other things coming up for all sorts of geopolitical reasons, that could have a huge effect on what happens from here on out. And I don't think we've always been – actually, we were kind of – before the pandemic happened, we were talking about what could happen if there was a pandemic. and we kind of, I think, have good antennas for this sort of stuff. And I hope I'm not getting ahead of things, and I really hope it doesn't end up bad, but it could. And there's a probability, a small probability, but a decent probability that it will. What do you guys think about that?
I can't believe that history is unfolding like we're seeing, that in 2022 this can be happening. It's just unbelievable. I mean, not that you didn't see the potential, but that it would actually in this time, in this age, that you would still see this kind of thing trying to unfold. It's just, it's hard to know. I mean, we've not experienced anything like this in 80 years. You know, so, I mean, this is,
yeah.
I mean, we've had a lot of unrest in certain parts of the world, but this to see it coming from this perspective at this time is just, I can't begin to guess what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, like you guys have said, it's kind of the same as the pandemic, where the pandemic started, we were like, no way, they're actually going to shut us down for 2 weeks and shut things down, and then that happens. So when you see all this stuff going on with Russia and Ukraine, you're like, no way, this is all talk, nothing's really going to happen. And then you see it and you're like, no way. Just like you said, Dad, you're looking at it and you're like, how can this be happening? Like, you'd think we would have so many preventions and so many things that would stop stuff like this from happening. But that's where we just got to hope and keep loving what we're loving, keep loving Disney, and hoping that nothing affects it.
Well, I think too, it's really important to kind of balance that out with, there's a human toll that's being waged and people suffering, right?
Yeah.
So on one hand, it's kind of that question of, is sports and entertainment and Disney Plus, is that escape? Is this a good thing that we need, or is it frivolous? Do sometimes we just don't have problems enough, that our problems are so minuscule that we can argue about the price of Star Wars, Galactic Cruiser, right? Star Cruiser, and how much that is, when, people have real problems in the world right now that, we haven't seen in a while. So it's not that I feel guilty at all, but at the same time, we need these escapes, and Disney has provided those for years through World War II. And David, you could talk to the history of that too, just how things have come out, and Walt Disney was all about giving people escape and kind of optimism and hope throughout these different times in our history, and hopefully they can continue to do that. So when we talk about like just crushing the profit numbers, it's bigger than that. It's storytelling. I think Disney is a great beacon of what America is, what our freedom has brought, that creators can create, right, that writers can write, that singers can sing, and songwriters can make songs, and they can build this place in the middle of a swamp in Central Florida that's kind of a beacon of like optimism and hope and storytelling and creativity that people from all over the world have been inspired by. And I think that's something to shy away from in these moments, that it does feel weird talking about it sometimes when people are suffering, but at the same time, man, it brings a lot of hope and joy to the world. I think
even back, during the Depression, the Great Depression, through World War II, through those really difficult times, people have always turned to the movies. And even when they didn't have money to spend on other things, people found a way to get a ticket to go to the movies and escape for a little bit. So I think that's what a Magic Kingdom is all about, is giving you a place just for a little while where you can shut the world out. That's why it's designed that way. You can't see the outside world when you're in there. And that's what movies do. They give you that, just a respite, a little break from everything that's going on all the time in the world.
Absolutely. Well, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine and service people all over the world who are trying to figure out what to do next, and our leaders. We're praying for wisdom for them, and I hope our listeners will join us in that. But to transition, we do have, speaking of movies, I've got this big list of movies right here from all time. All right, so we went through. It's in the spirit of March Madness. We thought we'd take a little bit of time here and actually kind of hash out and make a tournament bracket of the greatest Disney movies of all time. We went to Box Office Mojo, and we found inflation adjusted all-time highest grossing movies, and we have ranked them and put them and seeded them into actually, I'm using the CBS. I might not be able to show this. I might get pulled. The CBS tournament bracket into 4 regions, seeded 1. So the highest grossing movie of all time gets the number 1 overall seed, and there's 4 number 1 seeds, and they go to the final 4. And we thought we would go through this tournament right now and see this showdown to see who is the greatest Disney movie of all time. What is the greatest Disney movie of all time? And I know there's going to be a lot of controversy. There already has been, even talking about how to do this.
Hey, just and to make sure, I think that to make sure people understand that this ranking is, these brackets are based on box office results over time, adjusted for inflation, so that there was a time when tickets were $1. Now that's what that means, that things have been, the scale has been equal out so that you can really see what movies earned the most money.
And if you'd like to see it for yourself, we'll have JD add to the show notes a link to the Box Office Mojo. Is a fantastic site where you can get all sorts of movie stats from domestic, worldwide, whatever. But the top 200 all-time highest grossing movies of all, not just Disney, of all movies adjusted for inflation. And we went through and picked out, there's enough Disney on there that we filled up almost an entire, actually, there's about 60, there's probably 66. There were 2 extra that didn't get on here. Those 2 were what
Zootopia.
were they? Zootopia was the last one, and was there
Iron Man 2?
Iron Man 2, that was the other one. Yes. So those are the last 2 that didn't make it. They would be playing in, like they were on the bubble, and they did not make it. So, in the spirit, are you guys ready to do this? Are you guys ready to do it?
Hey, just a little preparation for you guys. I'm in a business law college class right now, so I'm ready to debate and to get my picks to the next level.
Just as a disclaimer, I don't like to compare apples to oranges. I don't like comparing Marvel to Star Wars or choosing Star Wars between animation. They don't mix to me. But I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go with you.
I'm pretty sure David has had the most anxiety about this, knowing that we were going to do this. We've already had some debates about this too, so this should be fun. I hope you guys stick with us. And again, John David's going to post this on Instagram if you want to see the bracket for yourself and maybe print it out and make your own, kind of notes on here too. Are you guys ready? So here we go. We're going to start in the East bracket. Let me tell you the 4 number 1 seeds in each of the brackets. Number 1 all time is the original 1977 Star Wars. George Lucas. Luke Skywalker, the original Star Wars, is the highest grossing Disney movie of all time. If you're wondering, the highest grossing movie of all time adjusted for inflation is Gone with the Wind. But Star Wars is next, and that's number 1 in our bracket here. The second overall number 1 seed in the South region is Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. The other number 1 seed in the West, this is the 3rd overall, was another Star Wars movies. The Force Awakens. This is the J.J. Abrams reboot that's newer. And then the other, this surprised me, but the other number 1 seed in the Midwest region is 101 Dalmatians, the original animated from 1961. What year was that, David? I'm
61.
1961. All right, so here we go. And now we'll start with the East region. Let's just go through the East region and get to the first 2 rounds. All right? We'll do the first rounds. Let's do the first round of all of it. Here we go.
Yeah,
all right.
Here we go.
East region. We have the number 1 seed Star Wars, number 1 overall seed, and it is taking the 16 seed Inside Out. Pixar movie, Inside Out. This is a weird matchup, but Inside Out was fantastic, man. It had all the, I thought it was one of the more creative, one of my favorite Pixar movies, probably my top 5 Pixar movie list. I hate that it snuck in. It's like a mid-major that snuck in here and had a Cinderella run, and now it's up against the number 1 overall seed. What do you guys think?
Well, man, that's a tough one. Inside Out's one of my favorite Pixar films, but I mean, Star Wars it's Star Wars. It's such a major film. I'm gonna have to go with Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I concur that it's got to be Star Wars. Again, what you guys have said, Inside Out, probably the most Pixar movie that really makes you feel and like Your heart is in it. So I love that. Not a lot of movies can really make you feel, especially in animation. So love it. Give it all the credit, but got to go Star Wars.
I agree. Star Wars, however, this 16 seed, it was a closer game than you thought. You know what I'm saying? They covered. They covered. So if you were betting on this, Inside Out got it. But Star Wars moves on, but it's a closer game. They're very, very well respected. They're set up for the future for another run next year. All right, I'm moving Star Wars on.
I would love to see more from Inside Out. That's one that I think they could come back and do more with that one.
I agree. They have a great recruiting class coming in. I think they have a great future ahead of them.
Yeah.
All right. In the East, we'll go to the 8-9 game. All right, the 8-9. Actually, let's go to the 2-15 game. Let's go to the bottom of the bracket. In the East, it's Star Wars Return of the Jedi versus, this is going to surprise everybody, Armageddon. Armageddon, the Bruce Willis, where they fight them, they save Earth from the meteor. You know, they go and they drill the meteor in space. I'm telling you, guys are shaking your head and laughing. I love Armageddon.
It was a high grossing movie, but it didn't get great critical acclaim, I don't believe either. So I'm not.
Dang. But it had the awesome Aerosmith soundtrack.
This was a Touchstone Pictures film that came out. Was it like 1998? Was that like? So it's most people would probably don't even remember that as a Disney movie. If you're in the Disney Movie Club and you get the list of DVDs and Blu-rays, you've probably seen that there and wondered like, what is that doing in there?
Most people don't realize Disney's involved in that.
Well,
at all.
that whole era of Michael Eisner, the 90s, all the Touchstone films. I don't think there are many that actually made it onto this list, but this one creeped in. So I think it made like $500 million in its initial run. So it was a pretty big film.
But you're voting for
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. All right, JD.
Yeah, I gotta go. I'm sorry, Dustin. I'll have to go with the Star Wars. Armageddon.
Listen.
Not my forte. Not really my generation as much.
Okay, I got you. But Ben Affleck, Steve Buscemi, Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler. It was an all-star cast.
Yeah.
And that soundtrack was underrated. And this is another weird story. In 98, I don't think it was my wife and I's first date. Our first date movie that we saw was Hope Floats, if you remember that movie with Harry Connick Jr. But this might have been the second movie we saw together, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
And so I'm a little sentimental about it. You know, spoiler alert, Bruce Willis dies at the end, saving humanity. But Return of the Jedi, to me, is the greatest Star Wars movie of all time, of all of them. And it was the first movie I saw in a theater as a kid. So Return of the Jedi for me too. Moving on. Yeah. 2 seed beats the 15. And it wasn't really close. It was about what the Vegas thought. All right. All right. Next is the 3 seed in the East region. It's another Star Wars. Star Wars Episode 1. Man, all those Star Wars movies are up there in box office. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace versus Spider-Man Far From Home. Far From Home.
Gosh, that's a tough one for me.
Wow.
Give you guys just a second to think about it. While you're thinking, I'll go ahead and tell you. Far From Home is the one that we're in Paris, right? They get Homecoming, then Far From Home, then No Way Home was the newest one, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Far From Home was great, and it was key to the Marvel. But I'm going to say I have a little bit of nostalgia for the Phantom Menace. I own every single one of the Episode 1 action figures. They're still in my parents' basement in the original packaging. So I'm going with the Phantom Menace.
Okay. Let me go next then because, I enjoy both of these movies. I'm just trying to think. For the franchise, Phantom Menace goes lower on my totem pole, probably one of the lowest of the Star Wars.
Most people, yeah.
Yeah, the prequel. And man, I really enjoy Far From Home. I mean,
all right.
Mephisto, I mean, the whole movie, getting to see them in Europe. Spider-Man's, Tom Holland's suits were really cool in this movie, so I think I'm going to have to go with No Way Home.
1-1. David is
All
the
right.
tie-breaking vote right here. Who moves
Who's
on?
going to go through?
I'm going to pick
Here we
Inside
go.
Out. No, I'm kidding. Hey, this is kind of a I don't. The one thing I don't have for the prequels is nostalgia for them. Like I wish that's what I want to find again. I need to go back through the whole thing and it. I just that era. Wasn't about whether I liked the movie or not. I just don't have that nostalgic pull. I probably have more Spider-Man nostalgia because, JD and our family, we all watched those together, and we didn't watch all those prequels together. So, but if I was going to go watch one right now just because I want to see it again, I have to say I think it would be Spider-Man Far From Home.
Wow. Here we go.
All right, Spider-Man moving on. The 3 was a close game.
So important to setting up No Way Home. I mean, if nothing else, it set that one up, and that's one of my very favorites. So
I could kind of see that coming, so I'm not going to call that a buzzer beater or an upset. But that Spider-Man was that is an upset. That's a 14-3. So it is the upset.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
heck yeah.
Okay,
So that's a big upset. Big upset right off the bat. All right, moving on. We gotta kind of go quick.
There's a lot
of games to get to. This may be a multi-part. All right, so we're still in the East region. The 4 seed, The Jungle Book. Let me make sure this is not the
which one? Yeah.
The
what year
animated.
this was, because we have 2 of them on here.
I know my answer either way. Oh, no.
I know your answer, too.
I read it wrong.
This is 1967. 1967. So this is the original Jungle Book. Okay. And it's going up against Marvel Civil War. Civil War.
Gosh. All right. So I need some
David's
thinking.
already over. I see David.
How do you compare that? How do you compare that? That's like
David knows what's coming.
Or potatoes. I mean, they're the same, but they're not.
All right.
The only thing
moments.
comparative about these two things is that they're both movies. Nothing else.
Both Disney movies.
Okay, they're both Disney movies. Nothing else is even comparable.
All right. I'm going to start. I'm going Civil War because that of all of the Marvel movies, like of the ones prior to Infinity War and Endgame, Civil War has the most new characters, the most plot lines intersecting. It's where everything kind of goes and sets everything up. Black Panther's first appearance is there. I believe, isn't Scarlet Witch and Vision's first they showed up?
That's Ultron.
Ultron,
but
gotcha.
It's Spider-Man's first appearance as well.
Spider-Man's as well. Yeah. So I'm gonna go Civil War. And I know it's biased, and I know Disney pure. I get it. Like I respect the Jungle Book. Matter of fact, the re-release of this Jungle Book movie in the '80s, I saw right around when I was a kid. It was a big impression on me too. So it's hard, but I'm going Civil War.
Dad, do you want to play the case for Jungle Book?
You're going to go next.
Well, I mean, I've got to go with Civil War because just like Dustin. I love it because it shows some of my favorite new Marvel characters for its time, but it also has the original 6. It's got the original, Avengers and Captain America. He's my favorite Avenger, so I love movies where he has good time on the screen. So I'm going to go Civil War.
It's already moving on. Now the question is David
I'm going to dissent. Here's the reason why. Actually, Civil War is one of my favorite Marvel movies for the reason you brought up, Dustin. Although it's one of the heaviest. It feels like all they do is argue the whole movie. It's not really like as uplifting as some of them. But I will argue for the Jungle Book. The one, if nothing else, was that it's the first movie that was released after Walt Disney died. And if it had not been a box office smash that's still on this list today, we probably wouldn't be here talking right now because animation probably would have faded away. They were already talking about phasing it out. and that and a couple others hits keep them afloat. So for that reason, if nothing else, I'm going to give a vote for importance to Jungle Book.
We should have let you go first to make the argument because I kind of saw this coming. But I will say that this is an upset because the Jungle Book was the 4 seed. It's made a lot of money, like a lot of staying power. So a lot of there. Another upset though. That's a 13 over a 4. Civil War's moving on. Let's go to the 5-12 matchup. Which, if you know college basketball, a 12 always beats a 5. 12 always beats a 5, right? So here we go. The number 5. Sleeping Beauty, and it's going to go up against – this is actually a pretty interesting matchup, like at 12-5. Captain Marvel. Oh. Captain Marvel and Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
David, go for it, man. Take it.
I'm going to go I was probably one of the few people that complained the least about Captain Marvel, but I would rather, I'm going to have to give this one to Sleeping Beauty. I'm going to let an animated win just because, again, it stands alone. Artistically, it stands alone. Even though it might not be my favorite story, it stands alone stylistically from anything else Disney ever did. You got a great villain with Maleficent, a good cast all the way around. So I'm going to go with that one. Because of the staying power. I think it's going to outlive the staying power of Captain Marvel.
It's iconic. Yeah. JD, you're next, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would go right off that and say I would also, kind of a shocker, but I would say Sleeping Beauty because classic Disney princess, so she gets points for that. And as far as watching princess movies, growing up with sisters, every once in a while I had to watch a princess movie in the car or something. And I actually enjoyed watching Sleeping Beauty a little bit more than some of the others because it had some more action. It had Prince Philip, I believe, fighting, this dragon. And it was just more action-packed and fun for a young me to watch. And I think that gives it more of a significance than Captain Marvel because it's not very likely that I'm going to sit down and be like, oh, yeah, let me put on Captain Marvel.
Well, it's unanimous. I'm going to say Sleeping Beauty also. Sleeping Beauty's iconic. It's all over the parks, right? It's just you think
she's got a castle,
Disney, right? You sleep. Yeah, she's got a castle. And I actually don't hate Captain Marvel, the movie. But I love everything about the movie except for Captain Marvel. So for that reason, Sleeping Beauty, unanimous. Moving on, the 5 beats the 12. That's a favorite winning. All right, now we're getting into the closer matchups here. We got a 6. Where's the 6 seed here? All right. Oh, this is a good one. This is a really good one. All right, 6 seed Finding Nemo versus 11 seed Monsters Inc. We got 2 animated movies going against each other.
This is more like what I would rather be comparing. I wish I had seen these two coming up against each other because this is a real comparison. I don't know, one of you guys got to go first.
I can go first on this one. First thought when I compare the two. Again, I'm just thinking if I sat on the couch right now and got on Disney Plus and picked one, which one would I rather watch and which one is just more significant to the Disney franchise? And I'm leaning towards more Monsters, Inc. as far as just enjoyable, the one that will let me laugh or chuckle more. I love both of these movies, but the one that I think more fondly of is Monsters, Inc. And another aspect is some people really don't care for Monsters University, but I did enjoy it. I did like that inside of the prequel of the friendship between Sully and Mike Wazowski. I enjoyed it.
All right, David.
Well, it's a tough one. I think there's Finding Nemo is more. I mean, if you're a parent and you've experienced that, it's just different because you know what it's like to let your kids grow up. If you've not really experienced that is like the soul of the movie is letting go of your kid. And I think even the first times I saw the movie, my kids weren't grown up yet, so I didn't feel that. As I went back and watched it in the past few years, it's like, wow, this is pretty amazing. One funny thing about this movie is when my kids were little and John David was little, we never let them see the opening scene. We would always stick the movie in and hit next. So it just started with Nemo waking up in the morning and him going, get ready for school. And the movie actually works great. You don't need to see that horrible opening scene where the mom dies and all the trauma. You don't see any of that. You still get the whole gist that, you got to let go. But we had gone on a date night and the baby's
JD's like, wait a second, the mom died?
Well, they
Wait,
knew she
what?
died. They just never seen it. And the babysitter put the movie in and didn't know to skip. And my kids were all like staring,
terrified,
wide-eyed at the screen as they watched this murder in front of of the poor fish mom. But I'm gonna go for all the trauma it caused. I'm gonna go with Monsters Inc. I'm going to go with Monsters Inc.
Okay, I for sure thought you were going to say Finding Nemo.
I'm going to let nostalgia win out. It's one of my favorites. It's one that truly makes me laugh all the time.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I agree. I'm in total agreement. I hate that for Finding Nemo because I think it's kind of iconic and probably a bigger movie and probably, like you said, a little more meaningful. But man, Monsters Inc. was so creative. And there's a great message there too. I loved everything about it, and so I'm unanimous with you guys. Monsters Inc. is moving.
That's on.
Great. That's an 11 seed over a 6. So mine are up there.
That's a tough one.
I bet Finding Nemo getting bounced in the first round, like
it is. And I will still say, if I had to rank them on what I thought was artistically the best, I might have to pull for. I would probably give it to Nemo, but I'm going to go with my nostalgia on this one.
All right. Well, moving on to the 7-10 game, the 7-10 matchup. This is interesting. We got the 7 seed is Star Wars, Rogue One, versus the 10 seed Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Okay.
Which is the first?
I did get that right.
Which is the very first? That's the first Pirates. So
that's right. Yeah,
there's no contest to me. I'm going Black Pearl.
Okay. Well, let me go next.
Yeah, you go
I'm going Rogue One.
Okay.
I will say, even Return of the Jedi is my favorite because I saw it first. But I think Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie, period, of all of them. The best acting. The most intense storyline. It's incredible. Like, incredible. And because of that, I would vote Rogue One. So 1 for Rogue One. David's on the Pirates. Now JD gets to choose.
Okay. Well, I'm going to think out loud for one moment. So it's a tough choice for me. It's definitely a good competition. I will have to say Star Wars, Rogue One. I watched it for the first time. Didn't love it. Kind of thought there's so many stories with Star Wars. Why would you show this? But I watched it again, watched it a third time, and now I really enjoy it. And now I've kind of discovered more of the significance. So I really like Rogue One. But my struggle here is I enjoy the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, but Black Pearl is my all-time favorite. It's the first one. It started the franchise. Johnny Depp's the youngest. All of the cast is just young and hilarious. So even though it's really hard, I think I have to go with Black Pearl for Pirates of the Caribbean.
And I also think, too, like, Pirates it's a ride in the park.
Yeah.
That first movie was great. It really is. And if it wasn't up against Rogue One, I'd vote for it, too. So Pirates is moving on. That is an upset, a 10 over a 7, not a big upset. So the last one in the East, first round of the East region is the 8-9 game. So this is like just toss a coin, flip them. You ready?
Where are we?
Yeah. The 8 seed. Okay. We're in the East region, 8-9 game. Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker. So that's the final one, right? Yeah, that's the last one.
Yeah.
The one that's the most recent one. Mm-hmm. Versus Swiss Family Robinson.
Crazy.
Okay, I can go first for this one.
All right, go for it.
This is going to be a hot take, very hot take. Okay, I'm going to go with Swiss Family Robinson. This is the old
1960
big house. Yeah, in the jungle.
Yeah. David's just looking like a proud papa down there.
I really loved watching this movie when I was young, and the whole idea of having this house in the jungle and swinging and having a bed in the sky. It was really cool, and I really, really loved it, and I watched it so many times. And Rise of Skywalker, I wanted it to be so good, but the ending, the more and more I watch the ending, I'm just so sad that they finished it like that. For some reason, we could do a whole episode on just the Rise of Skywalker, so I'm going to leave it at that. But Swiss Favorite Robertson actually gets my pick.
I think it's like episode 17 or something like that. We did before you were with us, JD. You check that out.
Okay.
All right, so Swiss Family Robinson. That's
I'm going to let you go, Dustin.
Yeah.
All right, so this is going to surprise you too, but I'm going to say Swiss Family Robinson also.
Okay.
And for all the reasons you said, and I actually think one of the more underrated parts of the Disney parks attractions is that treehouse. I when I was a kid, I used to love, and there's never really a line. You just get to walk through it. I used to love going through that thing, man. And then I actually recently during the pandemic, we watched it with the family, and they loved it too. They thought it was awesome. Then they're inspired and want to go build a treehouse, that kind of thing. It holds up all this time later, and I actually liked Rise of Skywalker. I think it suffers from trying to fix a lot of problems from the second movie, so it's not as great as it could have been. So even though I liked it, I'm gonna just let Swiss Family Robinson move on.
Well, I'm probably going to surprise you. But I say, the relationship of Kylo Ren and Rey is just so iconic. I'm kidding.
Wow.
Okay. It surprises me that we're going to let a Star Wars movie lose to Swiss Family Robinson. But I did watch it a while back in the pandemic, too, and was, again, surprised that it really holds up. Like it's one of those, it's before my time, but it even for my generation to see other, younger people, I think when you go back and watch it, it somehow really, it stands the test of time. So yeah, I'll go with you. Rise of Skywalker just wasn't my favorite. And I know so many Star Wars movies are going to end up in the top. So I'm going to let that one go.
One gets bounced.
Yeah,
this is like UNC Asheville. There's so many
UNCs.
Yeah,
that's funny. But we probably do have a lot of listeners that are like, "What the heck is Swiss Family Robertson?" But it is on Disney Plus. So anyone who's like,
I don't know what Swiss Family Robertson is. I have no idea what
Robinson.
I'm not messing with you, man.
Robertsons.
Yeah,
meet the Robertsons.
That's Robinsons too.
All right, so
yeah.
Oh, is it really?
Oh.
Well, how about that? All right, so that's the East round one. We got to pick up the pace to get through round one. So let's move down to the South region, round one. Here we go. You ready? Number 1 seed, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves against number 16, The Incredibles.
That's a tough one, too. That's like comparing Snow White to a Marvel movie. It's I don't know.
I'm gonna say Incredibles, hands down. It's my favorite. It's my favorite Pixar movie. I know Snow White has so much significance, but I'm gonna let you guys plead the case for that. I'm on Team Incredibles.
Okay, so let me point out too that even though this is the second number 1 seed overall, that Star Wars was the first. So if you're talking pure Disney movie, right? Disney Studio released originally. Disney bought Lucasfilms and the Star Wars rights later. So this is actually the number 1 all-time animated Disney movie, the all-time movie for Disney that Disney released, highest grossing film. And I think it's number 10 all-time of all movies ever, which is impressive.
It does have a 90-year legacy. I mean, that's a lot of sales. But it's adjusted for inflation. I mean, again, those tickets were originally probably like 50 cents or probably even less. You know what? I'm going.
When they're remaking these movies too, the story keeps going. I'm going
to go. Incredibles is one of my very favorite Pixar movies, but I'm going to go with history and pick Snow White. Again, if we hadn't had Snow White, we wouldn't have any Disney. And I would also argue that if Snow White hadn't been it's so 1937 musically that if you can't appreciate music in a different era or different time, you're messed up there, because you can't get past it. But it was so perfect for its time. It was such a huge blockbuster. They built the whole studio because of the sales of Snow White. So I'm going to have to go with that. And again, the story is so Walt Disney crafted, and it's so perfect in its succinctness. It's so tight. There's no holes in it. Never drags. It's short and it's over. And so for that, I'm going to get, and it's hand drawn. You couldn't do it. They couldn't make it again if they had to. They could redo Incredibles. They couldn't make Snow White again if they had to. So it's a masterpiece. I'm going with that.
Okay. Well, I love Incredibles. I love it, man. It's like, if it wasn't up against Snow White, and again, if I were going to watch something tonight, I would definitely watch The Incredibles. It's far more entertaining to me. But the legacy and the icon, it's still in the park, such a presence in the park. You know what I'm saying? That ride's been there forever, and it's been reimagined and rethought out several times. The story keeps going, keeps giving, and keeps being retold. 1 seeds typically don't lose to 16 seeds. So for that reason, I'm going to move. I'm going to send Snow White on to the second round.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
But it was closer. It was hard. It was close. That was another close 1-16 matchup. All right. 2-15. Here's 2. The number 2 seed in the South is Avengers Endgame. And it's going up against the 15 seed Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Volume 2. I'm just going to say Endgame for me. I love Guardians, but Endgame is like the ultimate.
I'm going to say Endgame.
Yeah. Yeah, Endgame all the way. It's not even a question for me.
Endgame moving on. That was pretty easy. Even though we love Guardians.
Yeah, I love it.
That was Volume 2. Were you going to say something, David? Okay. All right. The 3 seed. Let's see if I can find this. The 3 seed against the 14 seed. The 3 seed in this is The Lion King.
Which Lion King?
I have to double check and see if I've got live action or the original.
I think you've written live action as number 7.
Okay, yeah. So that is the original, right? Yeah, that is. Dude, we could get a Sweet 16 Lion King on Lion King matchup if things turn out right.
Wow.
How about that? All right, so the 3 seed is Lion King, and it's going against Alice in Wonderland. This is an interesting one right here.
So it's the classic against the classic.
Yeah, classic against the classic. 1942,
2 different eras.
No, 1941 against 1994.
All right, I'm going to say Lion King because I always thought Alice in Wonderland was just way too weird. I never understood it. I still don't understand it, you know. So, and the Lion King was kind of the renaissance of Disney, you know, animation, and it isn't my favorite Disney animated movie, but I think I like it more than Alice in Wonderland. So I'm going Lion King.
I like it. Dad, what do you think? I'm still thinking.
Well, I think I have to, in this case, I'm going to have to go with the newer. Alice has a weird nostalgia, like, because it's one of those things as a kid, you just saw parts of it all the time. But as a movie, because it's kind of episodic, I'm going to give the story to the Lion King because it's just such an epic story, and it's so iconic in its own way. I mean, I'm going to go with the Lion King.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'll probably go with the Lion King as well to finish it off. Just, I mean, merely based off the soundtrack is just so good. Like Hakuna Matata, you know, it's like crazy.
Okay, next is the 4 seed. I can't see these numbers. Oh, here we go. Black Panther versus the 13 seed Peter Pan. Peter Pan and the Black Panther.
Are you kidding me?
That's a mean
one. Not kidding you.
Oh my gosh, that's when you see your two favorite teams face off in the bracket, and you're like, "What in the world?"
One of them's got to go.
Oof. Okay.
Who wants to go first?
I think I can. I think I can go first. Okay, I'm gonna go with Peter Pan. Flat out, Peter Pan. To me, it is the most iconic, embodies everything. When I think just Disney animation, Disney movie, I think Peter Pan really started helped me fall in love with Disney as a young kid, and still to this day, the most I would be likely to put on the TV for a classic. But I love Black Panther, but I could not say no to Peter Pan.
Okay, I'm going to say Black Panther and let David be the deciding because Black Panther is like my top three superhero movies. And I do like Peter Pan too. I actually like Hook better. You know what I'm saying? I like that rendition of the story better. Mm-hmm. But I remember, why is that stinking line for the Peter Pan ride so freaking long? It has been for decades. You know what I'm saying? There's something there, and it's an awesome story. But I'm going with Black Panther. So, David, you get to break the tie. Well, I hate
to do that because I guess I'm going to go – I've got, like John David, I got to go with Peter Pan because that era of Disney was like the most nostalgic for me. It was the Disney that was before my time that just always seemed like that was the classic Disney. So I'm going to go with that. Although Black Panther is one of my top – that's a tough one. I mean, it to me is one of the best – Marvel movies of all, and definitely in the top three. So, and I don't know that I would necessarily put Peter Pan. That's a tough one. I'm going to go with Peter Pan. I'm so sorry.
All right. Peter Pan. You don't have to apologize. Peter Pan moving on in a close one with Black Panther. He got
That's close. That's hard.
Michael B. Jordan playing the part of Peter Pan comes in and all right, so next one, the 5 seed, the 12 seed. You ready for this? 5 seed is Avengers Infinity War versus the 12 seed Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2 is the one with the Proctor, right, and Jesse and the new characters and the whole thing. I actually really like Toy Story 2 more than most people.
Used to be
Infinity
Toy Story 2
War
ranked higher than 1, so...
I think it is higher in terms of box office.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to agree with you, Dustin, with Infinity War. If it was Toy Story 1, I would give it the other way, but Infinity War, I mean, it's just so good. I have to give it to it.
Just so you know, all of the Toy Stories are on this bracket somewhere. All of them. This is the highest grossing of all. Let's see. Let me make sure that's correct. No, this is not the highest grossing. Toy Story 3 is the highest grossing. 10 seed down in the Midwest region. But, yeah, we're on 2 right now.
Well,
so David,
it doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead with Toy Story 2 because I think it may be – it's definitely – it might be the best Toy Story story-wise and character-wise. And, again, it was one of the –
Is that your favorite of the 4?
I don't know if it's my favorite. I can't – to me, they're all just one story. I mean – I kind of wish we could almost break them down into just franchises. Maybe we should have done that. But I would have I would argue that it could be the best because I think it's one of the rare cases where 2 topped 1. 2 was just a little – it took it to the next level, and you didn't – it wasn't like whereas 3 or 4 are both really good, and there's going to be great things about them artistically. 2 is such a great – I mean, good night. The characters have dominated the parks, even from Toy Story 2. So, I mean, for that matter, I'm going to give it to it just because, it needs a vote. I'll let you guys win. Infinity War was okay. I didn't even watch it. Infinity War was the first one I didn't go see at the theater because everybody kept acting so devastated. And it was like, I don't know if I want to go do this, if it's going to be this bad. And so I watched Infinity War right before Endgame came out, so I watched them as like one movie anyway. So I'm gonna say it's not one that I want to watch over and over. That's why
All right. Well, that's another 5 over a 12. So the 5s are now 2-0 over the 12s. No 12 has beaten a 5 yet. Now moving on. The 6 seed, Bambi, versus the 11 seed, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So there's a little debate about whether Indiana Jones would make it into this or not. But Disney did buy the rights to it. Indiana Jones has a presence in MGM Studios, now Hollywood Studios. So it's in there. The Last Crusade is the one with Sean Connery. It's the third in the episode. So JD, have you seen that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love the Indiana Jones movies. I would probably give him this round, or give that movie this round, just because I love Harrison Ford. I've told you guys I've been rewatching the original Star Wars trilogy, and the more and more I watch, I'm like, man, Han Solo, he just carries a lot of the acting. As far as just acting, I mean, McKay, she had never seen any of the originals, and she was more invested and more locked in when there was that love between her and him and Leia and stuff like that. So I love the Indiana Jones movies.
All right, so 1 vote for Last Crusade.
Well, then I'll just
David?
give it for history to Bambi. I love Indiana Jones, but The Last Crusade is not. I can remember Sean Connery being in it. I can remember some iconic things about it, but it's been a long time. If it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, I would give it that one. So just to see what you'll do, I'm going to say Bambi. One thing about Bambi, it got so much negative for so many years because the mom dies, but we've had multiple movies like Lion King where the dad dies, or Nemo, the mom dies. So I think we're past all that. One thing about, again, Bambi, if you go back and watch it, it's visually, they could never do it again. It's just hand drawn painting after painting after painting. So for that reason alone, for the animation, I'm going to give it that. It could be a better story, but I'm going to give it to Bambi.
Dadgummit, man. I don't know what to do here. I think I really enjoyed The Last Crusade a lot, but I think it's actually it's not as weak as the Crystal Skull, but I do like the other two better.
Is Last Crusade the one where he has to throw the dirt out on the?
So it's like he's goes to this booby trap thing, right? Where he has to, the penitent man will pass, and he bows, and then the thing misses his head, and then he's got to spell out the Jehovah, the Hebrew word for name for God, and step on the thing.
But is it the one where he has to step out in faith, and he throws the dirt out, and he sees the path?
Yes.
That's pretty incredible. Yes. They recreate that in Onward. He has to do the same thing.
That's right.
Onward.
They do.
So
now you're talking. I was going to go Bambi, but you're almost talking me into.
Oh no.
I'm gonna go Bambi because I think that I do think it's more iconically Disney. And I do agree that I do think the next matchup's going to turn in really good too. And I think the Raiders of the Lost Ark is still represented in the tournament.
It's amazing to me that Bambi actually is on the list, and it was so high box office wise because those movies really suffered during the war years because they lost all of Europe. They couldn't distribute movies in Europe, and so it
But didn't it re-release?
Yeah, that was why. That's
point?
They've every 7 years they come back. Plus video and DVD and all those releases. I think it's one of those things that everybody has seen at least once. So,
well, I'm going to move that one on, and that leads us to the 7 and the 10 matchup, which is the live-action Lion King, and number 10, Frozen 2, which is the higher grossing of the two Frozens.
Ooh.
Wow, this one. Neither of these was my very favorite. I liked them both, but I didn't feel strongly, about either one.
This is like Duke and Indiana. Can they both lose?
Well, I mean, again, the Lion King. The thing is, the new Lion King, I thought should have been the first Lion King. Like I always thought, why wasn't this the cast or at least a similar cast the first time. The first Lion King, the one thing that I thought was unusual was the mix of the cast. I didn't quite understand, why is that person playing that part? I just always thought it could have been more authentic in the way it was done originally. But my criticism of the new one is it didn't do anything differently. It felt like it was just.
It's true. This is tough for me because I don't know which I like the least.
Yeah,
and I don't hate them. I don't.
Them, right? My favorite thing about Frozen 2 was the Panic at the Disco song. So, of what's the Into the Unknown?
I like the power ballad. I like my favorite thing was the power ballad he sings with the moose, and the like 80s hairband song.
Into the Unknown's the one that Elsa sings, but then when the closing credits, it's the guy from, is it Panic at the Disco? Right.
Panic at the Disco. Yep.
Which is big in the.
So what do you vote? I'm
going to listen to you guys first.
Okay, gosh. JD.
No way. Dustin, you have to go first.
I'll go first, and I'm going to say Frozen 2 just because of that power ballad song.
You're talking about I like Sven's song.
Sven's song,
it's that real cheesy the guy dorky. Is Jonathan Goff, who's also is the king. Yeah. He's the king in Hamilton. He sings the
okay,
I love it.
Yeah.
That song.
So, and the thing is like that song doesn't even really fit in the movie. Like it's just an awkward scene all around, but I like the song. So
yeah,
I'm going to go with it.
Dad, do you know which way you want to go?
I don't. I would probably, man, I have to be honest, like the Lion King I only saw once, and I need to go back and be more critical. So it's really hard. I only saw Frozen 2 maybe twice.
But you know the story because it's the exact same thing.
And for that, I kind of go, I don't know if it was. It should be more iconic, but it didn't feel more iconic. And so for that, I guess I'm going to have to give Frozen 2 just doesn't feel like the sequel surpasses the first. But I've seen many people pick it and other things like this over it. But I guess I'm going to go Frozen 2. It's not my favorite by far, but I guess in this, I would at least it added new songs, new something.
Yeah,
I think you said
that's exactly what I was going to say.
It's like we got to we got to give him a song, so they throw a song in there. Like everything feels a little. The story feels like we've got to make up a Frozen 2 movie. We don't really have a story, so let's contrive something. That's the only thing. That would be my negative. But then the Lion King just feels like the same thing. So
yeah,
I'm going to go Frozen 2.
So Frozen 2 is moving on. But JD, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say Frozen 2 as well. I was going between two sides, but when I really look at it, my first predicament was like, it's Lion King, so how do you not put that above something? But for just going to the movie theaters, I'm thinking I just want new content really when I'm thinking about Disney. And I was excited for Lion King. I was hyped up about it, and I just remember being disappointed because it wasn't anything that I hadn't seen before. I felt like, especially when you look at Jungle Book, how great it was. And Frozen 2, great soundtrack. And at least, even though it brought up more questions than were answered, I enjoyed watching new Disney content.
All right, so Frozen 2, unanimous. Moving on, the last 8-9 game in the South region. It's Lady and the Tramp, the 8 seed, versus Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the 9 seed.
Help me.
And I'm voting for the Temple of Doom. Give me the
action again in Temple of Doom.
That's the one where he rips the dude's heart out.
Yeah.
And they eat the monkey brains and the eels.
Yeah, it's the second
one of all of them.
That's the second one, right?
The second one, yeah. And you have the little kid. I think he's the kid from the Goonies that's in there too. No, I don't think that's correct. I just profiled somebody where I shouldn't have done that. But he kind of has that same vibe, the Asian kid that shows him around.
I thought that was the Sean Connery movie. I thought he was in the kid was in the Sean Connery movie. So
there might have been a kid in that one too, but
Oof. I guess, okay, so I think I might go with Lady and the Tramp on this one. Because even though, Dustin, you said it was your favorite, it was probably, when I was watching these for the first time, I was so young. It freaked me out that it always had a bad stigma, and I just didn't want to rewatch it. So it's probably my actually least favorite of the trilogy, which, again, when you're putting it up to a classic kind of animation, I'm going to go with Lady and the Tramp.
All right, David.
I'm going to go with Lady and the Tramp. Again, if it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, I would give it for sure. But I'm going to – Lady and the Tramp of the 1950s movies is probably the most it's like the most passive of all the movies. It doesn't really have a strong villain. But animation-wise, it's pretty amazing. It still has longevity in the parks. I mean, just the spaghetti scene alone is kind of movie iconic history, iconic compared to any. I'm trying to think. Had to think like what's in this Indiana Jones movie. Those were the things I didn't even remember. So I'm going to give it to Lady and the Tramp.
All right, moving on, 2-1. You knocked out my Temple of Doom, but I get it. It's a gross movie and disturbing. Moving on to the West, we're gonna get through this first round, then we'll probably stop.
Yeah,
and then make the next episode the rest of the rounds.
Come back and see who survives.
Sounds perfect.
All right, come back and see who survives. All right, so and we're figuring this out as we go too. But in the West, the number 1 seed against the 16 seed. This is an interesting matchup. The number 1 seed is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So this is episode 7, I believe.
Yeah. The first
one with Rey. Mm-hmm. First J.J. Abrams one. And it's going up against the Jungle Book live action.
Right. Now, movie. And to clarify, this is the Jungle Book live action that has Bill Murray as Baloo, as CGI, and Mowgli as a boy. It's not the one from the 80s that had a teenager playing Mowgli. This is... It's the more recent one. That John Favreau,
I believe,
from Marvel and Star Wars, is the one who did this one.
Yeah,
right.
2016.
All right, I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to go with the Jungle Book.
Woo, 16 over 1.
Because I think it's the best live-action remake they've done. I think Favreau did an amazing job of keeping things like Bare Necessities and I Want to Be Like You. But the movie feels completely new. It's not a repeat. It's a new movie that has great nods to the original, and I think it's maybe really the strongest of the remake. So I'm going to go with that one because I love the Star Wars franchise, so I know y'all are going to vote for that.
Dustin, you go next.
I'm torn. I'm torn too. Legit torn because I really like the Jungle Book live action movie. It's great. Like, it's legit great. And to be honest with you, it's probably got more rewatchability to me than The Force Awakens. I did like The Force Awakens because of the new ones, it was Han Solo walks in, right?
And then he walks out.
And Carrie Fisher walks in.
And then again, it's like, man, we didn't even get a chance to even...
But it had all the warm fuzzies. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I think because of that, J.J. Abrams stepping in just to give like a nice. You had new stuff, the Kylo Ren and Rey stuff, and trying to figure that out. You had old stuff. You had. I was gonna pick the Jungle Book, and JD, you may move it on at 16 over 1, but I think I'm gonna go The Force Awakens because I do think it's the best of the new ones, and I did really enjoy it. And I think I've talked myself into it. So I'm going Force Awakens, 1-1. JD, you're the tiebreaker.
Yeah, you literally just said everything I'm thinking. The Jungle Book live action is probably my favorite live action they've done. It's the most, like you guys have said, the most rewatchable for me that I enjoy to watch. But The Force Awakens is my favorite new Star Wars movie from the new trilogy. So that's my pull right now as I'm going between the two. Man, this is tough. This is tough. Gosh, I guess I'm gonna have to go and this might be shocking, but the Jungle Book.
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna have to go. I think I might have to go with the Jungle Book.
What a huge upset!
Even though The Force Awakens was my favorite, I didn't really want it to be my favorite. I just wanted it to be like an intro, and I could still, if I watch it, I can pick it apart way more than I can pick apart and find things to be skeptical.
So you're taking away points because of what came after it.
Well, I mean, not really. I'm just kind of thinking like, okay, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this was the best that they showed, and it was no lightsaber battles. My favorite thing about Star Wars is like lightsaber battles, these cool fights. And it had the warm fuzzies for about 15% of the movie. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I did a proportion of how good of a movie it is, it really wasn't as good as a movie as this live action Jungle Book was to me.
Okay. All right. Well, Jungle Book upsets it.
You know what? The saddest thing about the Star Wars sequels is they should have been done 10 years ago when everybody was just a little bit younger and they didn't have to end their stories. It's like that's the biggest regret is we just didn't get – the story I wanted came too late. I wish they had happened later. And I think we'll eventually get those. We'll get that story at some point. It just won't be the same actors.
Well, there's so many good stories you could tell with Star Wars, and I could talk about it all day. But the way that the Star Wars messed up was unlike Marvel, where they're planning everything. They know what their next 10 movies are going to be. Star Wars had different directors. They completely played it by, okay, let's try this. And you can see it in the movies. You can see, does that really make sense? Or what? Like they could have done this. And that's where it's like as a Star Wars fan, and you can just see as a fan watching it that it wasn't planned out. It's not as fun to rewatch. Yeah.
I enjoyed all of them, but I haven't rewatched them like I want to.
All right, 2 seed Avatar versus the 15 seed. This is a surprise, but the original Iron Man. Honestly, if you listen to this podcast, you know my feelings about Avatar. We did rewatch it, and there is an episode where we rewatch Avatar and talk about it. And on rewatch, I didn't hate it as much as I originally hated it, but there is just something in my heart about that it is the highest grossing movie of all. Now, adjusted for inflation, it's not. But it is the actual highest grossing worldwide movie of all time. And that does not seem right or fair to me. And I have a lot of bitterness towards that. So and it's not just that reason. Iron Man is fantastic. So the 15 seed beats the 2. In my opinion, Iron Man, I vote. You guys are next.
Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man. It's got to be.
Robert Downey Jr.
I love what they've done. I love what they've done at Animal Kingdom with the park. It surpassed my expectations. The attractions are great. The food's great. The environment of the land is great. But it's a lot more the environment of the park is a lot better to me than the movie. So
I agree. Avatar was my dupe in this stuff. So I'm glad they're out. First round, boom, out of there. All right, 3 seed. Let's see here. I can't read my writing. 3 seed looks like. Here we go. Oh, this is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay, here we go.
Jones versus Beauty and the Beast.
No.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I got to figure out which Beauty and the Beast this is, though. Let's see. Okay. Here.
You didn't write live action, so I'm assuming is your 19.
I might have forgot to write live action.
I see both Beauty and the Beast. You didn't write live action by either one.
Can we switch it?
What's the seed of the other one?
I can't see the number. I can't read the number, Dustin, but it's up against. This one's 14. This one's 14. It's up against an Avengers
Raiders
movie, Age of Ultron.
Okay. I got you. Let's see here.
I bet this is the live action that's the higher number.
The lower number is actually the original. Yeah, so 1991 is the one we're at right now. So this is the cartoon.
All right. The cartoon Beauty and the Beast.
Raiders of the Lost Ark versus the cartoon Beauty and the Beast.
That.
I think I know what you guys are going to do. I'm going Raiders of the Lost Ark. I like Beauty and the Beast, but it's my least favorite of the cartoons of that era. So,
really?
It's the only one that was nominated for Best Picture.
I know.
And Raiders of the Lost Ark was not.
I know.
Believe it or not.
True.
Again, it all comes down to nostalgia almost all the time. I'm going to have to say they tied.
You can't say it. You got to pick one. Somebody's got to win.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say Beauty and the Beast.
I know. I'm writing it in, David.
I've got to say it. I mean the soundtrack.
And your wife.
Good. And my wife. Yeah, my wife. If she listens to this, she's gonna come after me.
Yeah, if Beauty and the Beast went out in the first round, you'd be in trouble. Full show.
Yeah.
All right.
But dang it.
All right. I think moving on. No, that's cool. Harrison Ford is still
I didn't even vote yet. No.
Oh, I thought you did. No. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. David,
I'm going to have to go franchise-wise with Beauty and the Beast, I guess. That's the toughest one I think we've hit. I really want to give it to Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I'm going to go.
Well, it's just matchups, man. Sometimes the conference gets a lot of teams in, and
this is also Disney, so I'm gonna let a true Disney film beat Raiders.
All right. Well, here's the next one: the 4 and the 13. The 4 is the Avengers, the original, against the 13 Toy Story.
Man,
Toy Story, the first one.
No.
And Avengers is probably my favorite Marvel.
But we can't give up Toy Story though. Dang it, guys.
I mean, where would the parks be without those two movies? Well, Toy Story's made a bigger impression in the park than even Avengers Campus they both have their own land.
It's true. Who wants to go first?
Gosh, not me. Gosh.
The Avengers is the favorite. They're the 4 seed. I'm going to say I'm voting Avengers because I do think that I didn't know how they could do that, and they did it. And it kicked off this incredible.
That's when it really just takes off like
comic
crazy.
Book movies that have changed.
Yeah.
But Toy Story issued in all of Pixar. Well, actually, Pixar. It was first. Bugs. It was Bugs Life was second, and then Toy Story 2. So, yeah, it's changed everything. I'm going to go with Toy Story.
All right, JD is the.
I got mine. I could have, but again,
guys. That's the killer. And, I'm still thinking about, man, I just wish there was a way. Because it's again, we're just saying it. Toy Story did for Pixar, like this Avengers movie did for Marvel. I mean, it certified it as, okay, we know what we're doing.
And I'm looking past, that Toy Story animation from 1995 doesn't compare with Toy Story 4. I mean, they don't even look like the same genre almost. Yeah. It's so primitive. It's going to be interesting to see if you're growing up now, I wonder what kids that see Toy Story 1, do they think it looks like old animation? Does it look old to them compared to new stuff? I don't know. Mine are all grown.
Okay, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Avengers, just because Marvel. I mean, that really set up. I can still picture watching the post-credit scene and seeing Thanos. And I was at a soccer tournament, and I was so young, but I was like, "What in the world are they gonna do with this?" And then I turn around to my senior year of high school, and then I finally see Thanos. I mean, just to be able to plan that much far in advance, I mean, that's just so good.
That is a tough one. I still think there's
all right.
There's still a Toy Story on the list somewhere. I think. I mean,
There's
I think
two
we
more
voted
Toy
the
Stories
other
on the
one
list,
through.
actually. Yeah. No, actually, Toy Story 2 got bounced by Infinity War. David, 2-1.
Oh, my goodness.
But both the other Toy Stories are in the other bracket, too.
Well, 3 and 4.
So, we'll get there.
Right.
Here we go. This is an interesting matchup. Another 5-12. So far, the fives have won. The 5th seed here is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That's the middle of the new ones. Versus Indiana Jones and the Legend of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Last Jedi.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Crystal Skull, even though it's my least favorite of the Indiana Jones. It's also my least favorite of Last Jedi is my least favorite of the Star Wars.
Wait a minute, what year? What year are we?
Of all of them.
Wait, I'm thinking wrong. What is the Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi is the middle Rey one. So it's the Force Awakens, the Last Jedi, and then the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
so this
I was thinking wrong. I was thinking Return of the Jedi.
Well, you can.
That's right.
You can change it if you want. Would that change your?
Yeah, that was probably my least favorite of the.
It's my least favorite of both of them. That's the interesting thing. It's kind of like who's going to win out of the ones
I'm going to wait
like the least.
You know, you're going Crystal. You're going Raiders.
I'm going
what
Crystal
are you
Skull.
JD?
Well, I'm looking at our bracket here. So, did Rise of Skywalker even make this list?
Yeah, it had to.
Yes, it did, and I think you already voted it out.
Okay, so we're basically deciding. Okay, so this is the
Force
last...
Awakens just got upset, and Jungle Book beat it.
All right,
we have Return of the Jedi and the original Star Wars are in.
We let Swiss Family Robinson knocked out Rise of Skywalker.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
okay,
right.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to say The Last Jedi. So Dad has to decide what is.
Okay, that's nice. I like it.
It is a tough pick.
I can't even remember the fourth Indiana Jones hardly.
Okay, so the Crystal Skull had to do with the punchline was aliens at the end. Remember, he's looking for the stuff, and it ends up there's aliens.
And Shia LaBeouf is in it, right?
I'm going to go with The Last Jedi.
All right.
Last
Jedi survives, moves on. The 5 seeds are still undefeated.
We did let Raiders just took. Well, no, Beauty and the Beast did. Oh well.
All right, next. Here's the next one. All right, here's another interesting 6 seed: Pirates, Dead Man's Curse, versus Frozen, the original Frozen. The 11 seed is Frozen. Pirates is number 6 seed.
Wait, is it Dead Man's Chest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's
which is the last one.
I get all the Pirates movies confused.
No, it's not the. It's the last of the original. It's the last of that first.
That's right.
Or is it the
Dead
second
Man
one?
Dead
Is it
Men
the
Tell
second
No
one?
Tales is the last one. Right.
Yeah.
The hardest thing about the Pirates is separating them out.
Which is why I'm going to vote for Frozen. I think Frozen's a little bit more iconic and was more culturally impactful than the sequel of Pirates in the Caribbean.
The truth is, on Rotten Tomatoes, even though all of these were blockbusters, the first Pirates has a good score, but all of the others have poor scores. Even
they do. They get progressive. They all feel a little bit more like cash grabs, like sequels, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're all big epics to watch, but story wise, they don't. They get a lot of critique. So I'm going to go with Frozen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
David, you too?
Yeah,
all right.
Frozen. I mean, it's iconic.
Frozen moving on. I'm trying to keep track of
this is a tough one. I see some coming.
Next one, 7-10. Cinderella versus Aladdin.
I know which one's going through, so...
Oh man, I'm all Aladdin all day long, Aladdin. I get that. I will take the argument, but I'm Team Aladdin all the way. My favorite Disney cartoon of all time.
Wow.
Best soundtrack. incredible animation, put you somewhere else. It sparked a whole new wave of. I just love Aladdin.
Yeah,
love everything about it.
Yeah, I'll save us some time and say Aladdin as well.
Ooh, David.
Sorry, Dad.
I love Aladdin.
No,
Aladdin.
It's so
it might be
good,
my favorite from the 90s.
Yeah, I just keep thinking soundtrack. I mean, like, if I couldn't listen to these songs ever again, that would just be tough. And good movies, but also great soundtrack.
Yeah, it's incredible. I will give Cinderella a vote just because it saved the studio. We wouldn't be here after the war years if this had not been a hit. It could have been over. And we have iconic Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo and a bunch of songs that have lasted 70 years. So I'm going to give it a vote. But I'm totally with you guys on Aladdin. That's one of my top favorites.
All right, let's moving on. Unanimous. Moving through. Aladdin, the 10 seed beats the 7. Cinderella. Next one in the West region, our final one in the first round of the West, is Finding Dory, the 8 seed. 9 seed is Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is the second of the prequels. Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo. Who would like to go first on this?
I'm looking for us on the thing. I lost you here, so just tell me. Tell me one more time.
Oh, we're right. We're in the West. We're Finding Dory versus Star Wars Attack of the Clones. The clones. Drakkar Noor versus Estee Lauder.
Okay. We'll let you guys go first because you have way more voice about Attack of the Clones and all those things.
I will say that I don't dislike, of the prequels, Attack of the Clones is my least favorite. Although the cool thing about it is it's the first time we see Yoda fight with a lightsaber, which was awesome. He flips around against Count Dooku. It's a great scene. It's worth seeing it. But Finding Nemo was epic. Finding Dory was actually, surprisingly enough, this made more money than Finding Nemo, so it's a higher seed. I'm going to keep the franchise since Finding Nemo had a tough draw on the last one. I'm going to say Finding Dory. I'm going to get behind that. I like Finding Nemo better than Finding Dory, but I don't love the Attack of the Clones. So I think it needs to be represented. So I'm voting Finding Dory.
Okay. I'm going to give the other side. I'm going to give my vote to Attack of the Clones because, again, me and McKay, we've been rewatching all of Star Wars. And it's funny you said that, Dustin, because McKay, we're literally watching it. And Yoda pulls out his lightsaber and starts flipping around everywhere. And even McKay was like, what the heck? Like, what is going on right now? So, yeah. And I'd really encourage you guys just to watch it again, give it another shot. Because it's one of those things where you kind of start to appreciate it the more and more you watch it.
So you're voting Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
So we're 1-1. David's the tiebreaker again.
Man, that is one of the most of the prequels. That scene is like one thing that I really remember like really well. And so that was what I was thinking of. Finding Dory has some really touching story parts to it, but it's amazing to look at, but it's not my favorite Pixar movie. I think I'm going to go with an upset and give it to Attack of the Clones.
Ooh, all right. Star Wars, Attack of the Clones. How about that?
That's crazy. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm back and forth.
No, that's good. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, now we're going to our last first-round matchups in the Midwest bracket. The number 1 seed in the Midwest is 101 Dalmatians, and it is going up against, and this may be the biggest mismatch of the tournament, the 16 seed, 3 Men and a Baby.
Yep.
Yeah, so I doubt JD's even seen this movie, but It starred the great iconic Steve Guttenberg, if you remember.
Hey,
I think Tom Selleck is in it.
Guttenberg was the lead character in the Tower of Terror Disney movie that most people have never seen.
Okay. Yeah, so Steve Guttenberg, do you know who that is, JD?
Nope.
Okay, so he's kind of like this iconic I won't say iconic. That's wrong. But he was like a cult, I would say a cult figure.
He was in
comedy movies.
Wow.
He was in Police Academy. He was in 3 Men and a Baby. He was a huge star in the 80s. Yeah. Would you agree with that? But kind of became known for these kind of B comedy movies that these studios play, like Touchstone, just sort of generic comedies that kind of went out.
But that was a huge hit. It was Steve Guttenberg, Tom Selleck. Was it Fred Danson?
Who was the other guy?
Ted Danson. Yeah,
Ted Danson.
And anyway, it's three bachelors have to take care of a baby. That's the basic premise. They have a baby, and taking care of a baby changes their life.
You're right. It's Ted Danson, Tom Selleck.
They were all huge stars from television and movies, and kind of came together. That was that era was, pulling these Bette Midler, Shelley Long, all these a lot of people who had television presence or music things, and putting them in these, and they were huge successes. It was a big movie.
So now, so it's in here. So 16 seed.
Yeah.
Why don't we just go ahead and let JD pick his real quick?
Yeah. I have to say 101 Dalmatians, but if you guys can vote it out, go for it.
I think I'm with you.
101 Dalmatians for sure.
101. Easy.
I think they're remaking 3 Men and a Baby. I think that's on the.
I've seen that. I was just looking it up when I looked up the actors, but it actually sounds terrible. Yeah. Still, like it just sounds sort of cringy. We'll see
that
what
was
happens,
all a gimmick of putting 3 well-liked actors in a. So it would have to be like 3 actors that were as big as those, or it won't work. I mean,
who would you those 3 actors?
I can't even.
That's
what feels weird is like it's not going to be. It's going to be. I don't know that they could get that level again.
What if it was like George Clooney, Tom Cruise, and Robert Downey Jr.?
Ooh.
But I would watch that. I'd want to see that. You know what I mean? Like maybe. But all right, next one. Man, this is a long one. Here we go. Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back versus Pirates at World's End.
Empire Strikes Back.
I don't know if I have the whole.
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back. Moving on. Actually, it's probably the most critically acclaimed of all the Star Wars movies. I think it was nominated for Best Picture. Mm-hmm. All right, next one. We got the 3 seed. I always lose this. I never can see the 3. There it is. All right, this is a good one. This is a really good one. This is a tough one. Fantasia is a 3 seed. And it's going up against The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Ooh.
Narnia.
Ooh.
Fantasia versus The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
I think we should make Dad go first.
yeah. David, you got to convince us. Give us the argument.
Man, I was a kid that grew up reading all those Narnia books, and so I was so excited when they started that series, and I really loved that movie. I think they did an amazing job, and man, when they did on the on Disney Plus. When they did the series called Prop Culture, and they went back and they brought the actors and they went and found their original props and brought them out. That was pretty amazing. Fantasia is so iconic, but it's not my favorite because it's segments, it's not story, but again, for what it is, it's an artistic piece that would never be replicated, really. I don't know. I need somebody to argue. I need to hear some debate.
All right, so I'm just going to go Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe simply because, there's Fantasia. I'm like you. I like it. I respect it. I see where it's at in the history of Disney. It's so iconic in the park. We have even the plushy dolls of Mickey and the wizard's hat, right? But rewatchability and my connection to the C.S. Lewis books, I got to go Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, and it was well done. It was actually well done. So in the battle for me, I think I would say Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. So one for that. David hasn't voted yet. JD, what do you think?
Well, I mean, just for the same reasons you said, Dustin, I think I have to go with Narnia because it seems like that's a common theme of no one wants to lose Fantasia. No one wants to lose those characters and those iconic snippet of scenes, but not a lot of people will watch it and really go back to it. And again, out of all that Narnia trilogy, that first one is the most well done, and the one I've gone back and watched the most. So I'd probably say Lion.
All right, well there we go. I don't have to vote. I give a vote to both of them, so it would still go. All right. If I voted for both, Lion and the Witch of the Wardrobe would still move on. So
C.S. Lewis beats out the witchcraft. So there we go. Moving on. Number 4, very interesting matchup here. Mary Poppins versus Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one.
Okay, I'll go first for this because this is one of the few ones that I will stand up for the iconic Disney option. So I'm going to go with Mary Poppins because Julie Andrews, is just a queen. She is just high regards. One of the few people that you're like, there's literally like just pure elegance and, grace and all that good stuff. And she does a great job. I love how it's half live action, half animation. But that is a hard thing for me to say because I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. It has made me laugh more than probably any other Marvel movie. And I love Chris Pratt. But I'm going to give my vote to Mary Poppins.
All right, David?
Again, I'm going to give it to Mary Poppins because I know that for what it was at the time, it was way more groundbreaking than Guardians of the Galaxy is in its time. So that's a huge plus. It still holds up. It's still amazing. And I think Guardians is one of my favorites. But this is just too hard of a this is too hard. So I'm going to go with Mary Poppins.
Okay, that's interesting. And I think anytime you have a matchup where one of the contestants in the movie actually says, "Hey, you look like Mary Poppins," and the guy says, "Who's Mary Poppins? Is he cool?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, he's cool." And he goes, "Oh look, everybody, I'm Mary Poppins." Yeah. So this movie Mary Poppins is so iconic that the movie it's going up against quotes it in its movie. Yeah. So for that reason, I'm Mary Poppins too. Unanimous. Mary Poppins moves on. That's good. All right, next one. The next is a 5 and 12. So far, the 5 seeds are undefeated. We'll see if that holds up here. Another great matchup. Pinocchio is the 5 seed. It's going up against Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4. Who would like to start off the conversation?
I'll go first. I actually enjoyed, for the most part, Toy Story 4, again, like Dad said, it's kind of like one big story. I'm going to give my vote to Pinocchio because I feel like Pinocchio really holds in all of what Disney is about, kind of like making that wish and dreaming and trying to get there. So you can't not say Pinocchio for me, so that's where my vote's going.
Go ahead, David.
I'm going to say... I'll tell you what, Toy Story 4, man, I love the Keanu Reeves, is it Duke Kaboom, that you can bring in a character in number 4 that's that good. Man, Toy Story 4 brought in so many great aspects of, and I don't think there's anyone that's more visually stunning. When they are in that antique store and they're running behind cabinets and you see cobwebs and dust, and it looks like you could reach out and just it's like it's incredible to see how far animations come. So that, again, amazing. But then I go back and look at Pinocchio and I see Monstro in the whale in the ocean and all those waves and all that foam, and it's all hand-drawn by someone and hand-painted. So they're both visually stunning. Pinocchio gives us classics like When You Wish Upon a Star, so where would the Disney company be without that song? That's like every movie opens with that theme. I know that we've still got Toy Story 3 in the running, so I'm going to give this one to Pinocchio.
I love it. I'm Pinocchio 2 all the way. I love Toy Story 4. No knock on it. I just think sometimes greatness is greatness. You know, you do not watch a Disney movie without the do 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 do. And I've probably, believe it or not, seen Pinocchio more than any other Disney movie. Wow. I probably have. And the whole thing, you know. So I love Pinocchio. I think it's not just iconic. How old was Pinocchio? When did it come out, David? So it's an old one. I love it.
If you ever go back and watch it again, watch the opening scene when the camera pans in and it goes. It's after the opening scene. It's after. It's when everybody comes up when everybody wakes up in the morning and the camera pans in and it shoots through the town, and then you see all the people. They could never do it again. They just couldn't do it again. It's priceless. If you got, I mean, It's like those moments. If you know what's going on, you're like, it's just amazing. That's one of the reasons.
Maybe I'll watch that again tonight.
You know, that the craft of what they did back then and how they did it, like just the man hours and the perseverance that created these things. We take a lot of it for granted now. They can make movies at home. They couldn't do that stuff back then. It was such a hard process to make these things. All right, enough history.
So Pinocchio 3, unanimous advancing. We've got no strings to hold us down, to make us fat, or to make us frown. And we're moving on to people sleep on that soundtrack too. There's a lot of great songs on that.
Is Pinocchio it Make Me Fat or Make Me Frown?
I think so. It may not be fat. That's what I always heard as a kid. You know how your kid,
I think it's Make Me Laugh
and you're just in your,
or Make Me Frown.
I like fat. I like fat better. Strings make you fat. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, it makes.
I don't know what the
all.
strings would have done besides frown. I think it's fret that up, though. To make me fret or make me frown.
Make me fret or to make me frown. That makes more sense. There's a songwriter coming out. I like fat though. I like fat.
Hey, I guess the strings would make you fat if you couldn't get around and get your exercise on your own. So maybe. All right, what's next?
Next would be the 6 seed. This is the 11. By the way, the 5 seeds are undefeated in our bracket.
Wow.
6 seed is Incredibles 2 versus Iron Man 3.
Wow.
Man.
This is the one where he has to save Pepper and she gets powers.
Yeah, he has all the Iron Man suits.
And I actually think is Incredibles 2 the one with the fan villain? Yeah, I actually liked it. I think better than the first Incredibles.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery because you're wondering who's going to be the villain.
No, the first Incredibles was the fan.
Yeah, that's Syndrome. That's the first one.
Syndrome. He was the guy. The second one's all about
Elastigirl. And they're bringing them back. They're trying to bring superheroes back, and you got the man that's bringing it all together. But there's another character that's trying to undermine it, and you don't know until the end who's the villain.
Yeah, this is tough. I would probably give this one to Iron Man 3, because Robert Downey Jr. Again, we've talked about him before. That if there's any actor or actress that was hard to replace in the Marvel Universe, it would be him. He plays it so well. So I have to give it. But that is hard to say because I do think Incredibles 2 was so well done. And I've rewatched it a couple of times.
Oh, man. I'm going to agree with you. I want to say Incredibles 2. I really want the Incredibles to move on. But I think I'm going to say Iron Man 3, too. I think you convinced me, JD.
That's a tough one. I like Iron Man 3. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like in the overall epic Avengers story, does it have that much clout? Does it? Could that movie have not happened and it still
influence?
Go on? Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, y'all have already voted. I'm going to give it to Incredibles 2, just so we give both of them a vote. I like Incredibles 1 better than Incredibles 2. I think Syndrome is such a classic. That was such a classic good villain for them. But we knocked Incredibles out earlier because of Snow White. So I'm gonna vote Incredibles 2 this time. I'm gonna vote for the franchise.
Okay. Well, moving on then is Iron Man 3 with the one vote, dissenting vote. All right, moving on to 7-10. There's 2 left in our first round here, and we're wrapping up. All right, this is interesting too. Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. This is the third of the prequels. This is where Anakin becomes Vader. Order 66 versus Toy Story 3. This is Toy Story's last stand.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say Toy Story 3. I'm going to vote for the franchise. Okay. I'm going to at least try to pass it through. And I did. I think of the most moving. Toy Story 3 was where I pulled I had to reach out to all my kids in their seats because we all thought they were going in the incinerator. And I was like, hold on. I mean, it was the one time I thought I'm going to have a meltdown right here. And then the end I think more than any Disney movie may have touched me more than any Disney movie. It just tore me up. So, yeah.
Okay. Toy Story 3. David's making the case. JD?
Okay, I kind of want to – okay. I'm going to say Revenge of the Sith because I want Dustin to decide this because this is one that I could go either way because just like that, Toy Story 3 probably to me is the most that I'm going to go and watch. But Revenge of the Sith has almost become so iconic with all this new Star Wars content of going back to that final scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin and you were my brother, Anakin, and going through that. And it's become so – and like Kenobi, I mean, with this new Kenobi series, people have fallen in love with his character. So that's an impossible one for me to truly decide. So, Dustin, I'm going to let you
Y'all both made some – that is actually the way it should be. Y'all both made very strong cases for each of them. And of the prequels – Revenge of the Sith is my favorite. Like, it's great. Like, legit great. Like, not just his transformation. It's still got some bad acting in it, but the whole Order 60, the whole double crossing, the whole conspiracy, just everything falling apart and it ending like it did. It's great and does set up so much for like we're watching now with the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and the Kenobi. It doesn't. There's just a lot going on there that kind of it leaves you with. I think Rogue One is next on the list, and then the original Star Wars in the time sequence. But to keep Toy Story in, I agree with David also that of the Toy Stories, it's the one that is the most emotional. I think of the 4, it's the one. I don't know if I like it the most, but it was the most touching and the most like emotional, and it was kind of powerful. And I'm gonna and maybe it's just because I feel bad for David a little bit too. No, not really. I'm gonna go ahead and vote for Toy Story 3. It needs representation. It's such a great. I'd hate for like the Toy Story to go down like the ACC is gonna go down this year in the tournament and have all the teams out of the first round.
Hey, I mean Southeast. So, that's such a strong year.
So I'm going to vote Toy Story 3 so they get some second round love, so there they go.
I love it.
But I hate to let go of Revenge of the Sith. It's the best of the prequels.
We still have an Empire Strikes Back, so we still got some
there's still Return of the Jedi. The 3 originals are in.
Oh, really? Okay, sweet.
So they're all still in. I'll go over that in a second. There's one more left in our first round. And this is Beauty and the Beast live action, the 8 seed against the 9 seed, Avengers Age of Ultron. Live action Beauty and the Beast versus Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and tell you I have not seen the Beauty and the Beast live action movie. So,
well, there you go.
I feel like you guys take that into account.
I need just help me clarify.
So in Beauty and the Beast,
no, I got that one. Ultron,
and
help me put my Marvel into perspective because it's been 2020 since I watched them all again. Which one?
He's the So he's the robot. He's the bad robot that he defeats kind of Jarvis. And Iron Man wants to, create a shield around the Earth or whatever, and then it backfires, and then the bad robot comes to life, and that's where Vision comes in. And that's when you see Wanda for the first time. It has a cool intro. It has a really cool intro.
I know what I'm going with.
Okay, you go ahead then. Go ahead.
Oh, this is a tough one. Okay, I know so many people love.
Well, y'all know I'm Age of Ultron because I haven't seen the others. So
yeah,
there you go.
Age of Ultron is not my favorite of the Marvel, but that's a lot of action that is really important part of the story, and it's a lot of new content. Beauty and the Beast is not my favorite of the live action. Now I stood by the animated version earlier, right? We did push that one through, didn't we?
Yeah. Yes, it did. It beat Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to stick with Marvel. JD, so you can vote.
Okay. Well, I mean, we know Dustin's going to pick Marvel, but I was also leaning towards Ultron because it's got some iconic scenes, and it's one of the big movies where all of the Avengers are in it, so it's hard not to pick it. So good.
Awesome. All right, that completes the first round.
Wow,
that's amazing. 2 hours in, we're now becoming a Joe Rogan.
I guess we could
podcast.
You could split this up in two if we need to. Like if it.
Nah, we'll release this all in round one and let people kind of get through it on their own pace, because you can always pause and come back later. So we apologize, everybody. This is so long. But, hey, you can stop it. We're not forcing you to sit here and take it all in at once. But we will do the round two in the next one. We'll come back and do round two, and then you can maybe write us and let us know where we messed up or what we screwed up in this whole process. But I don't think we did. This looks actually pretty good to me. Just to go through, we have looks like some good Star Wars representation. The original Star Wars, still the number one seed, still alive. It's going up against Swiss Family Robinson in the second round. You've got Sleeping Beauty against Civil War, Marvel Civil War. You've got Monsters, Inc. versus Spider-Man Far From Home in the second round. You got Pirates, Black Pearl against Return of the Jedi. You got Snow White versus Lady and the Tramp. That's going to be a big second round. You got Infinity War against Peter Pan. Bambi versus The Lion King, Frozen 2 versus Endgame, Jungle Book versus Attack of the Clones, The Last Jedi versus the Avengers, the original Avengers, Frozen versus Beauty and the Beast. Woo! That's going to be a great matchup. Aladdin versus Iron Man, 101 Dalmatians versus Age of Ultron, Pinocchio versus Mary Poppins. We're getting some, interesting matchups here. Iron Man 3 against Narnia. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Toy Story 3 versus Empire Strikes Back. That's our round two matchups coming on. It's going to be great.
Goodness. Man. We're going to have to do some studying before this next round.
Got a lot to do there, man.
I love it.
We're working it out, and man, I'm pumped about this. This is the first of many I love brackets. Yeah. It's bracket time, March Madness. Can't think of anything you would like to go back on. Anything you regret we did today?
Well, I would regret 80% of the ones that we had to let go. So, yeah.
Okay. Because none of them are bad. There's only a couple of them here. I'm like, I mean, live without that.
Again, there are a couple that don't match to me, but like 3 Men and a Baby and Armageddon don't feel like they really belonged on the list, but except that who they were owned by. But other than that, there were a lot of these I hated to see go. Yeah.
Well, this was fun, guys. Always enjoyed it. We could talk another 30 minutes about all this, but I actually have to go get my kids from school also, who they will be really excited to hear this. They will, I'm sure, have lots of opinions on what we picked.
Hey, please let us know if you've got an opinion. That would be a fun thing to share next time, what people thought, where we missed it, and where we got it right. Love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
Also, we'd love to know if you have any ideas for brackets, maybe your own bracket. There's a lot of things we could do, and I love this bracket kind of approach. It's always fun to make brackets for all sorts of things. But JD, man, always fun. You're in Florida right there, so maybe it's maybe the next time we're due to Disney rides bracket.
Oh yeah,
maybe that'd be fun too.
Yeah, that would be great. There's so much you can do. You can do songs, different movies, franchises, so much. Villains.
Love it. But until next time, we've taken 2 hours and 4 minutes of your time. We thank you for that. We value that greatly, and cannot wait to get back and finish this bracket out. You can always touch base with us at whyilovedisney.com, on Twitter and on Instagram. Interact with us. Let us know why you love Disney and what you love or hate about this bracket. Thank you for your time. Until next time, guys, it's fun as always.
See you later.
Catch you later.
Have a good one.
Goodbye.